If you are using my calculator, again, Calc turns them to radian mode, so make sure that you are putting that into degree mode. Start your notes by putting in these two area formulas. We are finding the area of triangles today. They are not necessarily right triangles, so we have to have other ways of finding it besides just 1/2 base times height. The first formula we would use if it is a side angle side triangle. Area equals 1/2 BC sine of A. Now, the biggest thing I want you to understand on that formula is you are not memorizing or matching letters. B, C, and A are not going to match necessarily to the letters in the triangle you are looking at. But what it is in this triangle, they will give us two sides. So they'll tell me maybe about this side. They'll tell me maybe about this side. And where those two sides meet would be our what's called the included angle. Okay, that's what makes it a side angle side, is this angle is between the two sides that they give us. So these are in quotations. This would be like considering side B and side C, and this would be our angle between them. Okay, and when given a side angle side, you shouldn't have to do any work. You are just taking the two sides in the angle they give you and putting it into the formula where the sides and angles go. The second one is a little bit more of a process than just typing into my calculator because it is two parts. The part that is listed second is actually the first thing you would do, and it's finding what is called your semi-perimeter. Which, if you see, semi means half, perimeter is adding up the sides. That's exactly what's happening here. It's half of the distance around your triangle. Once you know that value, it goes into each of the spots up here where it says S, and then A, B, and C are just your sides. And again, once we know that, we just type it in our calculator. Not needed to be memorized, we need to know when to use. Now, when we are figuring out when to use this, you should not have to go do a lot of work. Like, it will work with one or the other. It's not like I have to go like solve for a side length or solve for an angle or anything like that. Like, it will match one of those two, put it in the correct one. And if you're going to go find an angle or go find a side based off of what's handed to you at the beginning, you're picking the wrong formula. Okay? So this is what that first formula looks like in your book. You'll notice that it actually lists it 3 different sides, 3 different times, because it says it specifically for angles A, B, and C. And again, I don't think the memorizing the letters thing is a good idea. Understand what's going on. It's the two sides in the included angle, and we put those in there. It doesn't matter what letters they are. Let's go ahead and try one. Okay, so we can see here that we have a triangle labeled ABC. All of our area questions will ask us to round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so in this picture, we've got side C is 52, side B is 39. We've got angle A as 25.89. And that is a side angle side. And so if it is a side angle side, of the two options that they gave us at the beginning, that is the one that matches with our area formula 1/2 BC sine of A, or the two sides in the included angle. And all I do now is go put those numbers in the correct places in that formula. Order does not matter. So I just put the two sides in there that we have, 52 and 39, and then the sine of the angle that we have, 25.89, and at this point it is a grabbing my calculator and typing it in kind of thing. Cole, round that to your nearest tenth. We did just find an area. It would be inches squared. That is not a concern of mine. I'm not going to take off if you don't label your answer correctly. Just so you know what the correct answer would, or correct label would be. Any questions on that? Sarah? With that setup, but you would have been finding like a side or an angle, not the area. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, they're all going to look very, very similar in this chapter. There is one thing you can can do on this one, as far as solving for something other than the area, would be a question something like this. A triangle has an area of 36 centimeters squared. Two of the sides have lengths of 7 and 12. And this is a good reminder of some vocabulary which you may not have heard or heard since geometry. It says find the angle included by those two sides. So if we talk about a triangle and it has two sides of 7 and 12, and it doesn't matter at all where you put those in the picture, but when it asks us to find the angle included is where 7 and 12 meet. They're asking us to find that angle right there, okay? So as we set this up in our area formula, because they did tell us the area, it is a side angle side. This is the formula I would pick. They told us the area, and they told us the two side lengths, and the question is, what is that angle? So we will fill in our information and solve for our angle, using our inverse. So area of 36, our side lengths, again, order does not matter, are 7 and 12. I labeled our angle up there theta, so I'm just going to put it as theta in our equation. You can call it A, I don't care, as long as we get the right number at the end. Let's talk here. First of all, you have a calculator, please use it. Common mistake on this is people try to mental math, like distribute 1/2 to the 7 and the 12. That's not mathematically correct. You would not distribute through a multiplication, okay? What I would suggest is I picked up my calculator and took 1/2 times 7 times 12, or mentally just 1/1/2, not 2 1/2s. What is 1/2 times 7 times 12? 42. As I'm solving for theta, what's the next step? Divide, right? Undoing my sign, trig function needs to be the last thing I do. And again, I don't need to. Normally I would tell you, go ahead and simplify that fraction. You don't need to, right? There is no need. That's not our final answer. It's just a stopping point on our way. And I would just wait to type it all into my calculator at the end. Make as few moves as possible to minimize my risk for mistakes. Inverse sine, as was mentioned. And what is our angle on this one? Again, as with all angles in this entire chapter, we're going to round to our nearest whole number unless there's some reason in the problem that we wouldn't. Like they started it with a decimal or something. Are there any questions on this area formula? Okay. The other one is just as straightforward. Again, just knowing how to do this in my calculator. This one actually has a name. It's called Huron's formula. Again, we've got that semi-perimeter here. This is actually where you start, and then that goes into each of those spots in your formula. Your side lengths get subtracted. Order, again, does not matter. So, given this triangle here, we've got ABC. Our side lengths are 44, 47, and 53. Because that is a side, 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 we would flip to that Huron's formula. You don't need to know the name of that at all. It's just what it's called. Which means my first step is to find the semi-perimeter. 1/2 times the perimeter. 44 plus 47 plus 53. Addition is a commutative property, so order does not matter. Michael, what's our semi-perimeter? Okay, that number then becomes the S in our area formula, and our sides are what gets subtracted from that. The one thing that typically gets forgotten, if we're going to forget, is that it starts with just a plain semi-perimeter, or just a plain 72, and then we start the parentheses. 72 minus 44, 72 minus 47, 72 minus 53. All of our area formulas, again, are going to be rounded to the nearest tenth. Go ahead and grab your calculators. Nick Wageman, when your table agrees on an answer, I will take that from you. 978. Is there a decimal at all with that? 0.6. 0.6. Questions? No? All right, that's your formulas. Again, we just found area, so if I were to label that feet squared. Try one of each on your own without me doing the problems. Yes. I do. I don't know if it matches that shape. Let me go back here and see. Borrow mine for right now. Mm-hmm. You do not. Yeah. When your guys' table agrees on an answer for the first one, will you just put your setup and answer on the board for me, please? And how about when your guys' table agrees on an answer for the second one, if you'll just put your setup and answer on the board for me, please? Okay, he is correct, and if that's not what you got, if you will let me come around and look at what's on your either setup or your calculator, I can help. Otherwise, we should all be working on the second one right now. We're going to get an answer up there in a little bit, and your job will be to check it. I was going to say, I would just, if I were taking a test, I would show the setup. Because if I were to fat finger it and hit a wrong button, the setup could save you a point. Doing okay? What? Yeah. Seems weird, but yeah. Uh-huh. You doing okay? Yep, you're doing great. Just when you write it down, read the number that's on your calculator. That would be sad. Okay. I had the question again. Ooh. Something went wrong. I had the question again, do I need to show my setup? Now, here's why. I would say yes. On my quiz, I would take the time to write it down. I hit a wrong button. I accidentally type in the same side length twice, which happens way more often than you would think. But I wrote it down the right way. You save yourself. Okay? If you write nothing down, there is nothing I can give you if you have a wrong answer. Worth your time, Monday. Questions? All right. We're done with the new material in 4.7. So from here on out, it is review and then quiz. I will put this back up here.